Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop. It is, I don't know, is it Tuesday night? Tuesday night, is it?
Tuesday,
Keith?
yeah, it
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
help me out.
Tuesday.
You know,
What a
Tuesday night.
Tuesday!
Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night. It's Gav, it's Davo, and it's Keith, and we're here to talk about the PGMOL. What's going on? VAR. I'm gonna bring us right back to the start of it all. We're gonna have a look through it. We're gonna look how it's progressed or not in the last couple of years. And I think the biggest question of it all is how long do we put up with this shit? And I think it's a fair question because it is shit. And going around in circles like we are now. Well, oh, this manager said this and this manager said that, and this is when he. It's all over the place. So we're going to do an hour on it, and then we're going to get out of here, and we are done. If you're watching on YouTube, you're very welcome. If you're watching on Twitch, you're very welcome. If you're one of our new channel members, brilliant stuff. Memberships are open, $3.99 a month. Hit the join button there, and you're all good to go. We'll talk about a bit about that later. Davo, how are you?
Not a bother, Gav. Not a bother. Just enjoyed watching Celtic getting pumped there in the Champions League. So.
Brendan Rodgers' Ultras.
Oh, yeah. Brendan Rodgers. Fucking telling you. Death taxes and Rodgers being shite in Europe.
Yeah, okay. That's usually how it goes. We're probably going to get an awful lot of reference to my moustache as well. That seems to be garnering a lot of attention, but I'll pick out the best ones if there's any really good ones. Keith, how are you?
I'm great, Gav. Yeah, I'm great. Like Davo, we were just talking before we came on, and Celtic getting absolutely bleeding handballed around Europe. Brendan Rodgers, he's a deplorable manager when it comes to Europe. It's just funny every time he's there. We've had to say it firsthand when he's playing bleeding reserves in the Bernabeu and all that. And of all games, he's unbelievable. But look, we wish we were involved in these games. We're not at the moment. We will be soon enough, but we'll just settle for Thursday nights against fucking Spartak, Vladivostok, and whoever else we get to play. But yeah, I'm good. The moustache thing, Gav, it could be. I get a feeling you agree with for this show, particularly because we're talking about authoritarians. A good stern moustache, and I don't think enough referees have them these days, and that could be where they're all going wrong.
Well, I'm falling into this trap because we done a show last night, and my whole thing on it was we're not getting enough whopper goals in football anymore. And Phil was like when did we get this? Like 10, 15 years ago. Do you remember when this fellow was scoring that and he's like, God, that was bleeding 25, 30 years ago.
Tony Abowes and all these.
Yeah, I think I'm falling back. I think I'm falling like the moustache is making me drop back into the 80s and 90s now. I don't know what it is, but look, it's going to be here for a month. There's nothing I can do. There's some big cracking suggestions over what the story is with it, but I might pick a top 10 by the time the month is out. But anyway, VAR, VAR, the PGMOL. It's reached, when I say like we thought like it had come to, the moment of truth a couple of weeks ago when it got to Liverpool and Spurs. But they've just carried on regardless since, as far as I'm concerned. But I want to go back to the very start because I'm going to be honest, I didn't want VAR, right? And I'm going to be honest now and I'm going to say I'm wrong, right? Because I thought VAR would slow down the game. I thought VAR would, look, it's going to turn it into, it's not going to be fast moving, it's going to be very bum. They'll be throwing ads in, different. And I'm wrong. I think VAR, utilised correctly, is an excellent addition to the game. But Davo, can you remember that? Can you remember back to then? Did you want VAR, or did you even think like the biggest problem here is going to be these fucking idiots implementing it? Because I don't know if many did.
Yeah, like one of the earliest of what I can remember, didn't we have a game against West Brom, a cup game where there was one of kind of the trial games?
Yes.
At Anfield, and it was an absolute shit show.
Yeah, you were 40 minutes late going out of the ground.
Yeah, and the lines they were drawn was like a 2-year-old was after getting a crayon across the screen and all that. I can remember that. But the one thing I have to say is I watched that Leicester game we played in the cup a few weeks ago. And there was now VAR in the Carabao Cup. And I was fucking, I won't lie to you, I was pulling my hair out. Yeah. I was sitting there going, VAR, like, they got a contentious goal. I was like, VAR will have a look at that. I think Doak gets taken down for something looked a little bit similar to Virgil at Newcastle. Nothing given, play on. I was like, fucking, just, And I was disgusted with myself sitting there thinking that, going, fucking hell, we need VAR here. So I'm not sure whether I could go back, Gav, to be honest with you, to no VAR. I don't know. Now listen, obviously, if after 3, 4, 5 games of going back to no VAR, you'd be grand again. But for them few weeks, you'd be going, fucking, where's the VAR? Look, should be looking at that. That's a load of bollocks. Blah, blah, blah. But I can't, listen, to answer your question, I can't really remember having much of an opinion on it going back. I do remember, obviously, that early West Brom game where it was a bit of a shit show. But look, at non-subjective stuff would be great for it. You know what I mean? If it was just offside and goal lines, I think we'd probably be far better off, you know?
Keith, Jerry says there, he genuinely thought VAR would be independent of referees. Was there a lot of people under the impression there that maybe that was the case?
I always felt that's the way it should have been from the very start. To have referees implement, and I remember thinking back, going back, and Davo's right, that game against, was it West Brom, was absolute shy, and it was, too long, and everything was slow, and obviously we're the guinea pigs for that. But again, you look at them now, and you see the likes of Anthony Taylor, who goes down, gets demoted, and refs in the Championship, and gives a penalty in the Preston game last week, and I'm convinced he thinks there's VAR there to get him out of a hole if there's a problem, because I don't know what he's looking at. I don't think we could go back to not having VAR. I think it's, Davo saying a few weeks of bleeding, it'd be a bit of chaos, but you'd get used to it. I think, and the problem now is it's not the VAR that's the issue, it's the idiots using it, but we're in an age of no accountability now. Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem, and not just with referees, with politicians, with stuff that's happening in the world. People can do and say what they want, and there's no repercussions or reprimand. And I think chief among this is the PGMOL. It has been for a few years. They do what they want, they say what they want, they can make as many mistakes as they want, and nothing happens, except now that police constable Howard Webb is now in there running the show, and all that I've seen happening is they're issuing apologies now, and all they're doing is issuing apologies, and the apology is not worth the fucking paper it's written on, because the lessons are never learned and the mistakes are repeated and repeated. I can't see a world where we go back to no VAR. It should be independent of referees. It should be people that are trained. And this bollocks about it being ex-players. No, it should be an independent panel of people. Obviously, they're going to be football fans. That's the nature of the beast. People like football, but not people with a vested interest. Not people that have, played for a certain team or, can directly influence it. It should be, this is the decision. You've made a mistake. Bang, bang, bang. How can we go back to just letting these fools on the pitch make the decisions? You have to nearly put pressure on it to use it right. But how do you do that? God knows.
The funny thing is, when the whole VAR thing started, right, they were like, oh, this will help making decisions, this will help with this, that, and the other, okay? And the quoted thing at the time was referees get about 96% of decisions correct, right? Which, in fairness, is a scandalous amount of things to get correct. Sounds
good,
right? It is a scandalous amount to get correct, right? So I nearly feel like since he brought this in, it's got worse. They've actually got worse at what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? And the amount of decisions they're getting right, even with the help, feels like it's down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I try to think of like a weekend's football, right? And if you, without VAR, without any of that, you go through it and you go to goals on Sunday, right? Just for argument's sake. And you watch the highlights of the 10 games or the 8 games that have been played before then or whatever. And you kind of say to yourself, right, that's cool. That's a contentious one. Yeah, but hold on, he's looking at that. And, and there's a bit of an argument over it, right? Whereas now we're at the stage where if there's one or two of these, when we come out the back end of it, after VAR, we're all still sitting there going, these have got this completely and utterly wrong. And that's the scary bit about it. With the backup and with the ability to see, things at angles and things at certain slow motion and multiple times, it just feels like, they continue to get things wrong. And it feels like they're doing it more than before they had the help. It's absolutely mad. But look, I'm going to bring Dave is going to come in and join us now from the Blue Room. I'm not too sure his camera's on, but we won't worry about that. Once we have audio, we'll be absolutely fine. Dave, can you hear us? No, we can't hear us. Okay, we'll take him out for a minute. We'll try to bring him back in a second. But let's get into how this has steadily gone wrong, right? Davo, we've seen I feel like last season and the season before there was issues, and you're kind of going, I'm not too sure on that. I'm not too sure this. I feel like this season they've just literally said, and it feels like the PGMOL have said, do you know what? Fuck this, right? We're just going to make these decisions, and whatever happens, happens. Because Davo, straight from the outset of this season, I think Wolves and United might be the Monday night game, first game of the season, and they have an incident with Onana nearly taking the head off a Wolves fella. And from there on in, Davo, it feels like every single week there's apologies to be made, there's fucking something going on. It feels like they just doubled down here, Davo, and we're just making these decisions and feel a little bit untouchable while doing it.
Yeah, well, like, I think the first kind of problem they had was the kind of typical, be it the FA, PGMOL, whoever, they kind of backed themselves in the corner in England with this clear and obvious stuff. It was like, we're going to do VAR, but we're going to do it our way. Like, I don't know, where was it in before England? Was it Spain and Italy before it came to the Premier League?
Yeah, I think the Premier League was one of the last.
Yeah, it was one of the last, but they were like, we're the best league in the world, so we're going to do it our way and we're going to do it better. And automatically, I think that backed themselves into a corner. Because now the rhetoric you're getting off them is they don't want to re-referee games. Now, you can't really have it both ways. You can't be going around it like clear and obvious errors, but we don't want to re-referee games. Sure, that's the whole point of fucking VAR. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're talking about the Wolves on this at the start of this season to get the ball rolling. He fucking missed a blatant fucking assault by the goalkeeper and your man. It's a penalty. So it's not about re-refereeing the games. That's a fucking mistake. Go and sort the mistakes. Don't be putting out these statements and this rhetoric clear and obvious. We're not going to re-referee games. When, in fact, that's what you're there for. That's what VAR is being brought in for. It's being brought in for to re-referee the fucking the cock-ups. And like, I just think, like you said there, an apology on the first Monday night game or whatever it was, the first weekend of the season, which is obviously rolled on to our own situation. It's rolled on to Arsenal the weekend with statements, and it's kind of snowballing a bit. And I definitely think I've seen somewhere earlier someone saying that after that incident between ourselves and Spurs, that Sky were told kind of not to be pushing that narrative after the game, that night of the game. And obviously, Keith, we were talking before. I let you bring up Richard Keys when you were talking about what he said today. So, look, you'd imagine it's like the wagons are getting circled, I think, would be how I'd say it about the PGMOL at the minute.
Before we go into Keith, I just want to check if Dave can hear us. I think he can, but I don't know if we're going to hear him. Dave, can we hear you? No, we can't hear him. That's the problem. Dave,
we're getting there, though. We're getting
there. We're getting picture now, which is great. Yeah. Tell you what, Dave, just drop out, clear Chrome, come back in through Chrome, and it should be absolutely fine, right? I'm going to drop you out there. This has happened a couple of times with people using different browsers. But anyway, Keith, you're going to talk about what Richard Keys, you want to talk about him in a second. But Davo says something interesting there. To re-ref the cock-ups, right? Now, I don't mind if a referee gives a red card and they say to him, listen, you might have to look at that, right? Or I don't mind if a referee doesn't give something and then they go, do you know what, you might need to look at this. I don't mind that, right? If he's completely missed it. But what they're doing is they're actually over-relying on each other now, right? So what the first thing to do is straight in, yellow card. Just give the fucking yellow. That's me opening offer. It's like, let's play a fucking game of bleeding higher and lower here, right? The price is right, whatever game show you want to put onto it. And it seems to be, there's the opening bit of a yellow card, and I'll just wait for these lads to make the decision for me. So actually refereeing's going out of the game. And then it leads to going to VAR, confusion. You know, what decision do we make? Can anyone remember the decision we made similar last week? Keith, this isn't about what Davo said. I have no problem with re-reffing the cock-ups, but this seems to be, let's embed ourselves in a process now that nobody's really fucking making a decision at the start. Just the yellow card's the safe thing to do. And then we go from there. And they still can't get it right, Keith.
No, because they're not looking to get it right. Davo hit the nail on the head with the clear and obvious error and then this high bar shite that they brought in. They're the only country in the world that do this crap. It's, they're giving themselves an out for every single decision. And all you're getting is a group of mates, because essentially that's what they are. You only have to listen to the audio and you only have to look at the trends of who the VAR is for this referee and who the assistant referee is for this referee. Dave, say something. Can you hear us?
I don't think he can. He can hear us, but we can't hear him.
We can't hear him.
He's shown us in the green room. I don't know whether there's a button there to get him out of the green room, but we can't get him out of the green room. So I don't know what's going on there. Let him mess around with it. Let him mess around with it.
Have a mess. Why not, Dave? They're doing great there. They circle the wagons now, and it's all now about, right, my mate is on VAR, or my mate is on the pitch refereeing. He's made an absolute bollocks of this, but I don't want to hang him out to dry. And we've heard this from Mike Dean. We've heard this from referees saying, I don't want to be getting me mate into trouble here, so I'm not going to intervene here. And we're not seeing what it should be used for. We're not seeing what VAR should be about. You're right, Gav. It should be, I've seen this tackle. I've given it a yellow card. In my vision, this is what I've saw. The player goes in, gets the ball, a little bit excessive force. What do you see on the camera? Because you've got different angles. Is there anything more there? Yeah, okay, I think you've made a bit of a balls of that. Go over and check it and do it. And they're not doing that. They're just covering for each other now. And you're getting less decisions right. You're getting less. In fact, I didn't think it could get worse, but it is getting worse. And this is the problem with not having independent people there. They need to be able to tell, listen, Clatzy, or listen, fucking whatever your nickname is going to be, you need to change this. You've made an absolute balls of that. When you were to think back to the Liverpool and Spurs game and you listen to the audio on that, right, and it's Darren England and it's whatever the other VAR fella's name was and the ref, and they're all talking and they're all, good process, all this. It's the technician fella sort of saying, here, you've made a mistake here, you've made a balls of that. And then they're starting to panic. The actual officials, one can make the mistake and the other one was backing them up. So how could two of them not have known the situation there? You can right, I don't think you can even understand that if the VAR misses that was given as offside, because what's he doing? He should be watching. We could all see a flag going up. It's an offside, on-field decision. They're setting up for a free kick. It's offside. The fact that two of them made a mistake questions it, and it was not independent, but the non-officials that were like saying, listen lads, we need to check this. And that's what I took away from that. I was worrying that the referees just didn't have the capabilities to make a decision or to question the decision or put their hand up. But and it could be down to a sort of thing as, I don't want to be the one that pulls up me, mate. I don't want to be, the linesman that's going in as the assistant VAR probably doesn't feel he has the minerals to go in and pull up a referee. I don't know if that's what it is. But you're not seeing them coming to the right decision. And they're doing everything to just make sure that the ref on the pitch is getting away with his decision. It's so frustrating. I think it's terrible. And it all comes from the top. And I'm not just talking about Howard Webb. I'm talking about, Mike Riley before him. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all of an age where you remember refs and they were a bit more blatant skill teachery. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd go in and you'd see and I'm not talking about Webb as a ref. He was a pound shop Kalina. You're going back to the what was your man, Keith Hackett and David
Jeff Winter, you're right, yeah.
You had this authoritarian lads, and then we moved into the age of the celebrity refs, and even more so with the likes of Mark Clattenburg, you know what I mean, going off, getting his hair transplant and all this bar of chocolate, and they became the centre of attention and the centre of the world. And when they started doing that, the rules and the spirit of the game was gone. It was all just about self-preservation and looking after themselves. And that's what does my bleeding head in with the PGMOLs, is that they don't have the interest of the game at heart. They only have self-interest. And it's never going to change with these in charge of it. That's the frustration for me.
Davo, when you look at getting on to how, like, we know their limitations. We know, like, that they're just fucking horrendous, right? I think they're horrendous. I've said a couple of weeks back they should be put on notice and removed. But let's look at the actions of clubs and managers here, right? And I've said it a while now. Tribalism is what's getting them away with this, right? If people just stood up and be very honest with each other, forget about 3 points or where you earn the league or wherever else it is, right? If they were very, very honest in what they were doing, this would be cut off at source much earlier than us sitting here on the fucking 7th of November and still wondering how long it's going to go on for. Managers and clubs have picked when to be upset with the PGMOL and picked when not to be. And it's usually, you know, if a decision goes for you, they're trying their best. If a decision going against you, they're a fucking disgrace. And the tribalism is what's getting them away with it, Davo. Like, I think clubs and managers have to take some sort of responsibility here as well.
Yeah, well, look, nothing changes without, like, if all clubs were on board, I think you'd probably find there would be a different style of refereeing, I would say, if all clubs were on board. But you're right about the tribalism, because the thing about, like, we'll go back to happen right with us against Spurs, right? That was a factual thing, that the process, every part of the process they got right, and they still got the wrong fucking decision, right? Because they made an almighty cock up. But that was to do with offside, which is a factual fucking thing. You're either on or you're off. And then the tribalism that came out after it, from fans saying, sure, fucking, we didn't get a penalty against these, and we didn't get a penalty, and he was sent off, and this and that and that. And I was just reading it going, are all these people fucking thick? Like, I have no problem. Everybody, every team, 1 to fucking 92 in the league, whatever, can point and go, we should have had this and we should have had that. But the difference was they're all subjective decisions. When it came to that offside, it was factual. And that's why Liverpool were rightly so up in arms, put the statement out there. They wanted clarity, and they wanted, basically, they put PGMOL under the hammer to get that audio out. Because I don't think they'd released it if Liverpool hadn't put the hammer on them. So that's what Liverpool were doing. Now you've moved on to Arsenal here now. You see, I think the problem Arsenal have, I think, is, like, we had Arteta saying, listen, they make mistakes and all that when that happened to Liverpool, and now he's fucking jumping up and down. And what they're putting in is kind of subjective stuff. Now, I do realise there's a one of their games there was a line drawn with the wrong player, which is an ultimate fucking cock up as well. But for the most part, it's subjective decisions that Arsenal are jumping up and down. So it's fucking, like, there's a difference between every club can fucking jump up and down on point and go, well, fuck you, you should have had a penalty against you, and then they say, well, you should have had a red card against us. All subjective stuff. But when it comes, the problem is you fed around Escav, like you said, with the tribalism, and, like, I think the other clubs are trying to stay on the right side of them. You know, the old kind of Ferguson trick and all that. You try and stay on the right side of the referees. Arteta and Postecoglou and everyone like that were saying, "Nah, look, they make mistakes. We just got to get on with it." And all of a sudden, Arsenal are banging in a statement, and Arteta is absolutely losing the rag on television. I think that's the most you'll ever see a manager losing the rag without effing and blinding. So I think you're right, Gav. The tribalism, and it is what gets the referees away with it, because they know that you go on social media and it's
divide and conquer.
But it's exactly divide and conquer. And you go on social media and everyone, fuck Liverpool, couldn't happen to a nicer shower, and fucking always the victims and fucking blah blah blah. And you got away with this one. Then there'd be a fucking meme thrown up of a tackle and all that. Just like you said, divide and conquer, and they know that. Today's news will be tomorrow's chip paper or whatever. Today's newspaper will be tomorrow's chip paper. So that's how they roll, the PGMOL. They just kind of weather the storm, and it'll be all right tomorrow.
Barry says if you remove the PGMOL, who you're bringing in then? You just replace them. Everyone's replaceable. Everybody is replaceable. It's like, Barry, no offence, but if you or me or anybody else went into the job and continuously were shy at it, they wouldn't go, oh, well, if we get rid of him, who we bring in? They just plan and bring someone in instead of you. That's just the way life is. Do you know what I mean? They'll just remove you. And it's as simple as that. Keith, the tribalism is there, right? And Like Wolves have been absolutely screwed. Like I think it's 3 times this season now they've been screwed. And I think I think when the Liverpool Spurs thing happens, not because it's Liverpool, but because of the way it happens, everyone sees this guy is clearly onside. The onside, the communication is awful. It takes the fucking fella that's operating the camera to turn to the people that are actually making decisions going, hold on, are you sure you're all right with this? And we all thought this is where it's going to end. This is the bit where they cut off now, where they say, that's it, right? That is it. It can't happen again. We need to be making this. We need to be consistent on decisions. And it just keeps going, Keith. And this is what's leading me into, like, where do we go from here? Because, Keith, I think as much as managers and not players, but maybe and owners of clubs and whatever it might be, do have to take some sort of responsibility in this. I think they've been incredibly patient with for me, an organisation that are so fucking stuck in their ways. It's untrue. Like, I'll ask the question to you 35 minutes in, and we'll probably need 25 minutes to get through the end of it. How long do we put up with this? Genuinely, how long do we put up with it?
It's an unanswerable question, Gav, because it's, Barry talking there about, the referees, what you do. Well, and Barry is a ref, I think, isn't he? Barry's a ref at local level. And he's got an obvious interest in what happens in that. And look, I understand that. Refereeing, I coach kids. We've all played football at certain levels, and it's becoming toxic. Like, for example, at schoolboy level, we got notification this week that they're looking for clubs to put individuals within the clubs on referee courses because they're doing, it's like the bleeding priesthood. Nobody's doing it anymore. And it's referees are getting assaulted, they're getting abused, they're getting slaughtered at grassroots level. And that's in Ireland, it's in the UK, it's everywhere. And it's a pox of a job. But they're not helping themselves. I think the PGMOL comes into existence. I remember reading it that they were the first official referee group to become professional, the English referees. They started up in the 90s and they became professional, and they were leading it because they were, English referees were always seen as the bastions of fucking rules and authority in world football. But you've got absolute shyhawks now at the helm of it, and what are you going to get? I was looking today actually at the chair, Howard Webb's obviously the chair of the PGMOL, and Martin Atkinson is in there, fucking that fat fucker that gave the penalty against us for Spurs, what's his name, John Moss, he's on it. All the shits that retired, what's his name, Mariner and all, they're all in there, they're all involved. And it's the same cronies that are doing this thing. It's the same heads that are involved in this PGMOL. So it's not going to change. You need an independent panel. You need independence. Similar with the VAR. I think with the Referee Association, there needs to be independent people there, because well, Howard Webb comes in and he looks fucking dapper in his skin tight shorts with the collar open and, real friendly and real affable. He's not. He's a shithead. He's always got his own back to cover and cover the backs of the referees that he's working for. He doesn't have the interest of the players or the fans, certainly not the fans at heart. So I think you need to look at that. And until then, you'll never get an end to it, because the same people, like I said, there's no accountability. There's no, like, what happens if they have stinkers? Like, Emmett saying there, Dermot Gallagher is involved. And so I forgot about Dermot Gallagher.
Don't touch anything, Dave. Do not touch anything. Go on, Keith.
Comical bleeding Ali Dermot Gallagher, he's wheeled out every Monday morning to justify this nonsense. And you're looking at some of the decisions that he's trying to tell you, it's, oh no, this is, I can see why they're doing. Would you ever fuck off? Like, these are deplorable. Some of the standard of refereeing is just gone through the floor. So while I do think it's a hard job to do, that's at the lower level. These are professionals. They're the longest professional referees association in the world. And you're not getting your money's worth. Whoever's paying for them, they're bankrolled by the Premier League, the EFL, and the FA. tell you, I'd be questioning what they're getting, because it's absolutely deplorable, the standard of officiating in games.
Dave.
Say something.
Hello.
Dave.
Yes. Yeah, I fixed it. I found a way to fix it. Don't ask me how, but I have. But Dave,
you wouldn't think I did stuff like this for a living, mate?
No, you wouldn't think I did either.
But I like how you took credit for it, Gav.
Well, I fixed it. I fixed it.
Do you
know what I was like? I was like, look, with the moustache and all, I'm like a technician that turns up at your gaff now in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right, to work out.
You're like an actor that was in Chernobyl on Sky. That's
Do you know what someone said to me today? You look like I look like the dad out of the Addams Family films. But Dave, we've banged on here for 40 minutes about the PGMOL VAR and what we thought of it at the start. You know, the way they've kind of just rested on laurels now, where they just kind of throw a yellow card out as an opening bid and then see where the process takes us. The responsibility I think clubs and managers have to take with, you know, only reacting when it suits them and stuff like that, and where it goes from here. But like, we're 3 Liverpool fans talking about this, so people will obviously, you know, anyone that's not a Liverpool fan watching this will think, look, you're still upset over the Spurs thing, but it's not. We're looking back at Wolves having massive issues this season. Like, they've just picked on Wolves for no reason. But as an Everton fan, looking at it, and whether that's looking at the Liverpool Spurs thing, looking at the Wolves thing, looking at Everton themselves, like, this is going downhill, Dave. And my main question on this is how long we put up with this, because it's not getting any better.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point you've made there about Wolves and I think, you know, this might sound, you know, too defensive to you guys and everybody else that's listening, but with the likes of ourselves, I certainly look at it from an Evertonian and think it seems like it's much easier for them to make decisions against us, because we're the club that's the lesser of, you know, a few evils in here. When it's happening in bigger matches like yourselves, I think there was a massive irony last night with Chelsea against Spurs, because that is one game I've looked at and thought, you know what, it's actually done its fucking job for once. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I didn't see a decision that VAR did that was anything particularly bad yesterday. But you're right what you say. I think, you know, lower teams in the league, so-called lower teams in the league, are really easy to pick on. How we go about resolving this, I mean, I don't know what fucking Howard Webb's doing every day.
Playing solitaire.
Sorry, say again?
I think he's playing solitaire. I think he got a new laptop and he's playing solitaire.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, Ange Postecoglou last night, I think he was spot on when he said, I don't really care about the VAR, or shouldn't have to care about VAR, and I don't care if we just went back to the days where we just had the referee, 2 linesmen, and whatever decision they made was what we stood with. Because even if they get it wrong, it's the way it used to be. Like one you mentioned before about, you go back to when we all play football at any sort of level and you have one referee. Let's be honest, if they make a decision that you hate, you go over, you're screaming at him, and he's not going to change his mind. But that was, again, I say that term, lesser of 2 evils. If you're able to go and do that, rather than stand there for 10 minutes waiting for somebody else in a studio down the road, make the decision. And you know what? If any of us can vote as fans, I'd do going back to how it used to be. And, you know, let's be honest, there used to be some horrendous referees who we'd moan about every day, every time we played and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys remember this, but earlier on in Premier League, I mean, go back, maybe 15 years, there was a referee, I'm sure you remember him, called Araya Rennie. And what they started to do with him and many other refs, I'm not just singling him out, but it was the example that I do remember, is that if they had a poor week, if they had a poor weekend, whoever around the judges, PGMOL back then, would ultimately have some sort of panel who say, well, you know, he's had an absolute stinker, he's fucked up, a team's lost the game because of solely his decision, then he gets dropped for the next season. It's like any of us, you go to work, you get promoted if you've done well, you get demoted if you don't do well. That to me seems something that's pretty easy and pretty simple to go through, rather than how long have we had VAR now? It's 4 years, is it?
I think this might be its 3rd season. Would it be its 4th season?
Yeah.
4th.
21, 22, I think it came in.
And how many times have we been there? And it's got any better from back then, from 4 or 5 years ago? How's it got any better? So, if people who have all the technology and all the money in the world still can't reach something that is adequate enough or something that is simple as enough, then why on earth, when we're all screaming about it every single week, some people having podcasts and shows just strictly about them, rather than talking about the actual football. It's just pure common sense that hasn't even been considered by so many of them.
It's its fourth season, I think I'm right. I think 2021 was its fourth season. But
do you remember you go back to that first season when it was there, everyone was treating it like it was some sort of magic, and everybody celebrating, think there's no way we can have a bad decision happen to us. There's no way, somebody scored a goal and it was a mile offside, and it's relegated us or it's promoted us or whatever it is that it's done to various clubs. They're thinking, this is going to be great. And do you remember? I don't know if you guys remember it when it first started. And I might be admitting this and I'm getting absolutely ripped apart here, but I remember when it first came on board, and I was thinking, this is going to sort everything out here, because the standard of refereeing in the Premier League is the worst it's ever been. Oh, here we've got a camera now that can deal with it. There's a few lads down there in Stockley Park who can make a decision, give it to the ref, and on you pop. But yet it's made it even worse. I think it's pathetic.
It's funny because, like you say, when it starts off, and this to bring it back full circle completely to when it started. When it started, most people's objections at the time, I felt, were with the technology. Do we need a blah blah blah? They make decisions, blah blah blah. It takes out the I suppose, like if me and you are sitting in a pub after a game and we're kind of going, well, I don't think that, and it kind of takes that argument there. But like, let's be honest about it. Who gives a fuck about the two lads in the pub? This is a multi-billion-pound industry.
Yeah.
The sort of way. It's just the romance of it all is me and you sitting in a pub, arguing over the decision. But I think that the reservations over the technology has been quickly replaced by the fact that we all thought we were going in with, there's the ref, and these people over here in Stockley Park will tell the ref. But it's not. It's just his mates sitting in a fucking van. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's his friends sitting in a van. And we've seen Mike Dean come out and openly admit, I didn't give something because he's me mate. You know, what? Like, fucking he is having, like, you know what I mean? It'd be like my mate going in and killing somebody and going, well, I'm not really telling him he's me mate. You know, the sort of way. Yeah, but he's killing people. Oh, yeah, but he's me mate. You know, the sort of way. And it's going on and on and on now, to the point where the referees aren't even refereeing anymore. And what they're doing is, they're just going, me mate will bail me out. And I keep going back to it. The yellow card is the opening gambit. Throw in a yellow, they have to act in. So they act and go, no, you're fine, keep going. Right, grand and clear. Or have a look at that. Or give us a look at it. Or do you know what?
Yeah.
And we still can't hear what's going on between them when they're yapping either. And it just seems to me like, for something that's to come in to help referees have turned on their head and went, you know what, we'll just let that do everything. And we'll just, even though we're making the decisions, we'll be independent of that anyway. You know, the sort of way. Davo, somebody asked earlier, if you get rid of the PGMOL, what do you do? And my argument is, you just replace them, right? But let's be honest here, Davo. I could genuinely come on here every single week and do a show on the PGMOL, 100%, an hour, no problem. Just off 10 Premier League games the weekend, I could do an hour show, right? I could nearly guarantee it in 6 months' time, we'll be sitting here and I could do the exact same show in 6 months' time here, Davo. It's not, is it going to change? Because I don't think it is. I think the fact that there's the divide and conquer with mixed with the tribalism of it all means that the PGMOL will just float along through this, and we get some wrong, we get some wrong. There's not going to be a big enough movement to sort things out.
The problem is it's not going away, Gaff. Like that's the thing. Like the VAR is staying. It's all over Europe, it's Champions League, Europa League. But I honestly think, whatever about Europe and stuff like that, I honestly think if you had a magic wand, or if the FA had a magic wand, and they could just go, right, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do the semi-automated offside and goal line technology, and the rest is being left to the fucking referee for subjective decisions, as in, that's a penalty, that's a red, that's 2 yellows. I think they'd do it. I think they'd go, right, grand. Because, like I was saying earlier, offside is offside. You're either on, you're off. If your toenails off, you're off. If it was semi-automated, you can't have any complaints about that. It's there. It is. You're offside, and obviously the goal line technology. Barville getting away with that woman. They never fucking switched it on a couple of years ago. That's fairly nailed on as well, right? So that I think honestly, if the FA had a magic wand and could sort it out, that's what they do, and they'd go back to just leaving it up to the referee. Like Dave said, you're on the end of some shockers. You get some that go your way, because we're still getting shockers now with fucking a referee, 2 linesmen, 4 official, 4 fuckers in a truck, and fucking 800 cameras. We're still getting shockers. So it's here to stay. It's not gonna change, because I actually, Gav, like Keith said earlier, it's unanswerable. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they change it. I don't know. I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure they're working hard. They are. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're getting the hand slapped at times, but not enough. Like Keith said earlier, your man goes down to the championship after first time in 5 years. Anthony Taylor has an absolute holocaust in the Preston game, and now he's on City and fucking Chelsea on Sunday. So it's obviously not, like Dave was saying there. You're worth demoted. You could be dropped down probably a league for the season. If you fucked up 20 years ago, now you're going down to the championship, having a stinker and getting the biggest game of the weekend the following week. So
what a punishment that is.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you know, when you look at decisions being made and stuff like that, right? It's like when, you know, when someone says a lawyer has to have a good memory, right? To be a good lawyer, you have to have a good memory. I'd love them to bring some sort of memory into this, right? By saying, look, that tackle there. And be open about it. Like, the fellas in Stockley Park have all the fucking facilities they want. Be open about it and go, listen, that tackle there is very similar to Curtis Jones' tackle a couple of weeks ago, or, Mikalenko the week before, or fucking Rashford, whoever it might be. And actually bring it forward to the table and go, listen, he's given a yellow there, but hold on, this is very similar to the one that happened last week, the week before, 6 weeks ago, and that player went. And actually, sorry, that player didn't go, and we seen it as an error. That's what, and that, let these be the reasoning behind it as well, because what happens is they start falling into, as much as rules that they throw at you, and you know, handball stuff, silhouettes and all this, and I get that, right? They don't want fellas going around with their arms out like this, like they're fucking Superman. I get that, but sometimes the silhouette can't be hands down by its side. It simply can't. Like the one where Arsenal get a penalty against them against Chelsea. The fella's going up for a fucking header. He's trying to head the ball and it's headed against him. That's a natural silhouette of a fella heading the ball. Do you know what I'm saying? And they should be able to use for things to happen before, but they don't seem to want to be. They take every single one, right, on its own merits, right, with no evidence around it. And then what they do is, when they're making that decision on its own merits, right, then they start going, yeah, but I'm not too sure with that. Yeah, and it's like, hold on, the rules are there. If you follow the rules, I'm probably asking for evidence from before to be brought in, because they can't follow their own fucking rules. I'm actually realising that as I'm speaking. And that's why I keep saying, if I'm the Premier League at this stage, the technology is fine, Keith. It's fine. The technology is fine. If you want to do automated offside, go ahead and do it. It looks great, right? And it's great the way the graphic comes up. It's a bit more snazzy than a fella fucking drawing with a crayon on the telly, right? And fellas actually genuinely at home with rulers and pens on their TV going, well, if you draw a straight line here, mate, yeah, right, stop. The automated stuff is fine, Keith. But, Keith, I would put them on notice. I genuinely would, because the money they're being paid, I'm telling you now, you can go out and find a group of the same amount of people all over the world, best in class, in all these countries around the world, and go, listen, would you like to come and work for the Premier League? And they go, yeah, I would, because I'm going to get 100 grand a fucking year as a kick-off. 150 grand pounds sterling a year, right? Plus I get all these bonuses for different things. They're making a fortune. There's no way the PGMOL is not replaceable, Keith. So if I'm going to put it out there before we finish, I will put them on notice and tell them enough is enough. Because from the very start of this, Keith, they have pushed against VAR. they've pushed a bit against its implementation. It was implemented late in England compared to other countries because of the PGMOL, and now they're halfway between making decisions and just letting the technology do everything. Where are you on it?
Yeah, no, it's the people in charge. It's, these are the ones that are causing the issues as far as I'm concerned. VAR is a separate thing, I suppose, than the PGMOL, but you've got just idiots that are looking at computers now, and maybe it is down to semi-automated offsides. You can't argue with that. Do you know what I mean? It's the goal line technology, as Davo said, it's failed once because they forgot to turn it on. Probably caused Sheffield United to get relegated, so it was a bit of a big deal, in fairness. Not an ideal situation there. And Nigel in the chat there is hopping, going mad, saying, what about Hawkeye? What about Hawkeye? So, if you went down the technology route, you'd say, right, you'll take that for the VAR. But with the PGMOL, you've still got referees, you've still got the opinions and the high opinions they have of themselves, the overly authoritarian views that they have that I can't be questioned and I don't have to explain myself and this, that, and the other. Once you have people like that running the game, and you have to have somewhat, I think, to be a referee, you have to, in rugby we see the refs are mic'd up and there's respect between the players, the referees, and all that sort of stuff. And everyone can hear what's said. They tried it in football, and I think Wayne Rooney put the bleeding kibosh on after about 15 minutes. It was like, right, turn that mic off. That mic off.
Wayne's having a breakdown here. Fucking knock it off.
I remember, he was going mad. And, you always have to have that sternness. A referee has to be able to tell the players, you can't let the players dictate what's happening. They have to be in control of the game, and they have to be able to implement the rules and use common sense. But what we don't see with them is we don't see common sense. We see things 1 week that don't happen. Now, I'm not saying Liverpool should have had a penalty against Luton for the Van Dijk when he got... I do think they should have had a penalty, by the way, but because it's Liverpool, it seems...
In the break to the Luton goal?
No, that was the handball, was it?
Oh, the handball, yeah, 100% is not a penalty.
No, not a penalty, yeah. The handball. The one when Van Dijk gets dragged to the ground. And you look at the Man City penalty against Manchester United last week, when Højlund brushes off as a Rodri, and he goes down like he's after being shot.
But this is where you should bring in stuff from the week before going. It's very similar, but they don't.
That's what I mean. The consistency isn't there. Yeah. And it's never there. You see Alexis McAllister gets the yellow card for the waving the flag, and a few players got it that first weekend. Never seen again. Do you know what I mean? There's no consistency. There's no, one tackle, as we said, Curtis Jones's tackle, you accept and say, right, it's a red card because he uses force. So 5 years ago, I don't think it's a red card. I don't think it's a reckless challenge. But then you see fucking Kai Havertz flying through the air and trying to take out Sean Longstaff in the game the other night, and no one mentions that.
Or the biggest one for me was the City player. He played for Chelsea. Kovacic, just running around smashing into Odegaard for fucking fun at Arsenal. There is no consistency. There's just not. Like Jonathan says, it's sport. There's no perfection. Stop looking for it. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm fucking far from it.
You'll never get perfection.
What I'm looking for is if you're going to utilize VAR, utilize it, but take some responsibility while you're doing so, and be able to be consistent in what you're doing. And I'm not asking for consistently going to screens. I'm not consistently asking for referees to look at this or look at that. I'm just asking for you to be consistent. If one fella goes over the top of the ball 1 week and one fella goes over the top of the ball the next week, I don't care what game it is, whether it's a Luton player or a fucking Man City player, they both get the same treatment, and that's not what you're getting. Simply not what you're getting.
They tie themselves up in knots with the amount of rules and the changes and the tweaks to rules. So if we go back 15, 20 years ago, an offside was an offside. There'll be a little bit of benefit of the doubt. Yeah. Now, I think it's better that offside, even if it is coming down to a bleeding nose hair that you're offside. I've no problem with that. The problem is when they start bringing in lines and you're sort of looking at it and you're under this illusion that these lines are, just good technology along the side of the pitch and it's a laser and the line is across, and then you realise it's not. It's the same fucking idiots that are getting the line and drawing it back and back until they reach the point, and you're seeing that they miss things and they're just making an absolute mess of it. So, there's no consistency with any of this stuff. There's no, there'll never be that. They'll never have that in the game the way it is. They're just an absolute. They're tying themselves in knots. There's too many rules. There's too many tweaks to rules. There's too many, grey areas in rules that I just don't think they're helping themselves with. Like it's like if I jump in on Dave and I 2-foot him and I'm going for the ball, red card. If Davo jumps in on Gav the next week, the same thing, play away, yellow card. Like it's the same thing. You're absolutely hitting someone with force. You go in 2-footed or high-footed, or you hit them over the ankle, or you hit them above the bleeding bill. It's a red card. And there's too many grey.
Jonathan says, what I'm looking for is perfection. No two actions are exactly the same. No two actions are exactly the same. But you see, we're not going on to two actions being exactly the same. What we're going on is a mandate from the Premier League and the PGMOL with regards to what you can and can't do on a football pitch. Now, nothing is exactly the same. But if you have 2 tackles, and they're both above the ankle, whether they're 1 millimetre or 5 millimetres above the ankle, they are, in fact, the same thing. And they should be treated the same, and that's not what you're getting. And what's happening is the consistency also comes in the people that are making the decision being consistent in that. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is you're getting referees making decisions one week, and then the next week in a very similar situation, the referee is being told to go to a screen and being advised by somebody else. And the case in point is actually the Kovacic one at Arsenal, because as soon as Kovacic makes a second tackle, I think it might be on Declan Rice in the second instance, he's waving his hands to say, I'm not giving that. Right, so he's already telling you he knows what's going on there, but I'm not giving it. Whereas if that's the first tackle, or if he's not sure, he would be at the screen. And this is what I'm saying. The following week, that man is probably at the screen being told, go and check that. Why isn't he at the screen this week? And if they want to go to the screen every week, fine. That's what we're going to have to do. But either go to it or don't go to it. Yeah. And that's what's happening now. Everything's being left. But look,
well, what we forgot about, Gav, as well, before we do move on, is, Michael Oliver and the lads who done the Spurs and thing were off reffing in Saudi Arabia or in Abu Dhabi, I think it was, the week before or that week of those games. And I'm not saying that had anything to do with it, but they're opening themselves up to the accusation that they're on Man City's payroll. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think it's stupid, but it's sort of you're in the tinfoil hat realm. But is it that stupid? Because if you're getting brought over and paid and wined and dined and you're getting the best of grub and you're getting this, that and the other, hospitality. I mean, you see journalists who talk about the hospitality at the Etihad because they get the best food and they say fucking nothing about Man City because of that. If you're getting paid and, like I said, top of the range wine and dined, subconsciously, are you going to give a decision that you think it's, well, maybe, I'm not too sure? And that's what they open themselves to the accusation of, which doesn't help them at all.
Well, look, I'm sure, like I said, 6 months' time, I can message all 3 of you and be sitting here having the same conversation. I'm convinced of it. Before we do go, though, Dave, Everton, turned the corner a little bit in the last while.
I thought we were going to miss doing this and just talk about referees.
No. You see, we were meant to do this a couple of weeks ago, but of course, Bill Kenroy passed away, and we thought it was better not to do a show on them. But no, just quickly on them. It was looking really, really bad for them a couple of weeks ago. They've got a couple of wins. They drew at the weekend. And I've seen I listen to the Blue. I openly tell people I listen to the Blue Room after every game, just because you're very honest on what you do. But I've noticed something that you've said recently is that Sean Dyche seems to has copped that. Look, stop trying to look for the ball. Yeah. Just fucking play the game without the ball as much as we can, and we'll actually start getting results. And it's starting to show through, isn't it? He's gone more for work and structure rather than trying to win games. And I don't mean that in a facetious way.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've said there, why I think there's a lot of truth to that is that he's looked at him, and Everton managers, you guys will know that over the years, that where they've found themselves wrong, where they've come stuck at when Everton have tried to do a certain thing. You go back to Seamus Koeman. The only one that's different to that was Carlo Ancelotti, who, he's like a king to all of us now because he actually came in and started playing football where Everton actually looked half decent. With this now, what I will praise Dyche for, I'm not the biggest fan of his whatsoever, but he's actually had the decency, I think, to come out and think, you know what, this football club, this team, this squad I've got right now, simply aren't good enough to, work with the ball in the midfield to find a system that is going to penetrate the opposition, able to knock the ball around that they want to. He's looked at it, he's not going to say it obviously, but he'll have looked at all of it and thought, do you know what, this is very similar to what it was like when I was at Burnley. Let's go down this route, lads. And that route is allowing the opposition to have as much of the ball as they want to. Everybody sits behind them. You'll have seen a load of this at the derby. When they put 10 men behind the ball, the one thing we have got that's decent, and you've seen the likes of Branthwaite, who I'm sure you'd agree with, it looks like an absolute superstar.
Yeah,
he won't be staying at Everton long.
No.
And you see a side that effectively, he finally got to the point where he took Michael Keane out. Tarkowski, that's a decent partnership at centre-back, and then you've got a couple of full-backs who are half decent. Then you start, that's at the bottom of what you want to build here. So if you watched us against Brighton at the weekend, it very, very nearly worked out in terms of you can have as much of the ball you want. I think they came out with like 80% of the possession.
Yeah,
like
you had a huge amount.
You guys the other week when you beat us was the same. The amount of possession. And the bizarre thing is, away from home, and I don't think I've ever said this about Everton, that away from home I prefer us to play. I prefer us to go away for every single week. Because that game against Brighton, and again, I think you guys over the years will have witnessed this. When your team is not getting on top of the ball, when your team isn't penetrating the opposition, and you're all standing there going, "Oh, why has he missed past it? Why haven't we made the substitution? Why haven't we got somebody on who's going to drive forward with the ball?" When ultimately, for a club like us, for a side like us right now, that's the best thing we can do that gives us the best chance of getting a result. Doing it away from home's fine because you've got none of your fans behind you who are screaming and shouting, "Why haven't you got the fucking ball? Why aren't we having 20 odd shots on goal?" When the reality, going away from home, for most clubs, you naturally your opponents, the home side's going to have more possession than you. So I think Dice actually worked that out and thought, you know what, the opposition having as much ball as they absolutely want, that's fine. It's better for us because they're going to have shots on goal, but we've got 10 lads who are going to try and stop them from doing so.
Yeah.
And then you've got something that's half decent. Calvert-Lewin's back. He looks as fit as he ever has. You've got an outlet then to try and score a goal, and that's what we've done. That seems to have become a formula that actually works at the moment. That Brighton game, if you watched it, like I said, they had 80% possession. Matoma for them and Ferguson they've got there look like they're going to be potentially world-class players, by the way. And we did well to keep them out, apart from the fact that Dice left Ashley Young on for, 5 minutes too long that he should be on the pitch anyway. But those sort of things, he's starting to piece it better together. And I think I'm looking at that table now. I think we're very fortunate that the bottom three who came up
are awful.
I mean, yeah, I think the three of them will actually, I said we stayed up with 35 would have kept you up last season. I'd be really shocked if you need anything more than 30 odd points, 31 maybe, because those and the Luton game, be sure they've got every one of them is going to try and get behind them as far as they possibly can when they're playing in those home games. But by and large, they're going to lose, say 14, 15, might not even get an away win. So you can see all three of them getting an amount of points that is nowhere near, touch wood, what we'll be able to get quite comfortably. So with that in mind, mate, and I'm banging on about this here, but in a future capacity, everyone's banging on about the new stadium, which we'll go to in the next 18 months. The thing that's petrified so many of us is that, we're not good enough to stay in the Premier League. We'll be going there to watch concerts instead of actually going to watch the football being played. There's a glimmer of hope of what Dice has done. Long term, I don't think he's going to be the man that takes Everton forward in any capacity.
Agreed.
He has a lot of limitations, I think. But right now, it's sadly what's needed to keep us where we are. You look what happened with Lampard. I mean, that Everton going to go down. Let's face it. Before Dice came in just over a year ago, had a half decent run of games and kept us up on the last day of the season. That looks more comfortable to have him doing that than roll the dice again. You've seen how many managers we've had as well. We can't go and buy players either. So, it's hard to get behind them in terms of a capacity that makes people want to stay. You can build something. You guys got Klopp in what now? 8 years ago, 8 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah,
He come in after Brendan Rodgers and had so much belief in himself and what he's done that he changed everything he wants. And that's how Liverpool kicked on, and you become what you are these days, and when you won the league and all that stuff. With Everton and the amount of money we had under Mashiri, and that's a story in itself, what that man's done. So many of our fans would say that that's Everton. That you've gone got the billionaire that you wanted for years. You can go and sign what players you'd ever want, and things have actually become worse when that's happened.
Because me and Davo.
So I was just going to say, mate, it's a fucked up club, and it will be till probably all of our dying days, to be honest.
Because me and Davo constantly go on about everything. And going down and not going down. And we were kind of talking about it last week, and Davo was like, Gav, literally, they could get that 12 points deduction and still stay up because the three at the bottom
I think they will. What's the story, Dave? I heard something, it was the Totally Football Pod. I think your man, there's a fella on The Athletic, he was kind of saying he reckons they will get a deduction, but maybe 5 or 6. It won't be the 12. Is that what you think? Or?
I think the general consensus is right what you said there. Everton are going to be used as an example. I think that's the really easy thing that these people who are making these decisions, this independent panel, regardless of what it is, they're getting pressure from the Premier League to punish Everton. The reason why that is because we're the ducks in the water. We're the club you can use as an example. I mean, you think if you've got Man City, who have got, I don't know, 1 million and odd things going against them, versus Everton, who've got a few where they've spent too much money when they weren't allowed to.
And Everton, and I've sorry to cut across you.
Go on. No.
I've spoken about this quite a bit off the back of listening to what you say in your podcast and others, and the main people say like, oh, why are they doing Everton now, and why isn't City? Because City were. The difference is Everton were quite open on what was going on here. Yeah. They've. And this is from me listening to things. Everton spent more than they should have, right? But then when they lose the likes of Usman off and all this stuff's going on, right, that puts them in this shit. But Everton are quite open because it's well known that Everton and the Premier League both say they're working together to solve this issue. Now, there was a bit of a grey area with regards to COVID and the stadium and the costs and stuff like that, and Everton were claiming one thing, Premier League were claiming the other, but they were working together. And then something happened. Now, this is the only bit where we don't know that something definitely happened, because the Premier League then told them, no, hold on, we're charging you. So Everton went and pushed the boat somewhere and got done. And that's the reason why Everton are up so quick, because they were actually very open with the Premier League as to what was going on. City aren't. City are telling you they'll have their review tomorrow when they won't. They won't give the Premier League all the information. But I still think if they got 12 points, they'd stay up, because what's down there is just...
They should absolutely push for it like as quick as possible, I think. Honestly, don't drag it on to next season.
I think the worst thing they could get, would be a transfer ban. I think that's the worst thing they could get, is a transfer ban. It's actually worse than the points.
I'm not sure about that, because like I mentioned there, when Mashiri first came in and he started spending them like it was his own little train set. I don't know who we've got there with Thelwell as well, who's the director of football with the transfer stuff, the academy and all that. There's nothing that suggests to me that this guy knows what he's doing either. We've had Steve Walsh over the years. If you give somebody, anybody who's on the board or director of football, whatever you want to call it these days, Everton, if you were to go and give them, what will we need there? So, for instance, we sold Anthony Gordon for around 50 million. Richarlison, around 50 million. Pretty obvious that that's gone against all of this stuff that's coming up against us with these charges. Everton have thrown a load of money in to make sure that they don't look like they've cocked anything up financially. If that was put in the arse pocket of anybody who's around buying players that they want to come in, I can safely say I wouldn't trust them. I would not trust them 1 minute to have £5 million to go get the right player. That has been an age-old decision that's been so frustrating for all of us, that when you get a lot of... I mean, look at you guys there, which a lot of Reds, I'm not saying you guys would say so, but given what happens at Chelsea, given what happens at United to an extent now, and City. And you're sitting there thinking, fucking hell, how are they allowed to go and spend X amount of money on that amount of X amount of players? And we could argue about that till we're blue in the face with it. But when you look at you guys there, it's financials. The financial side is what you've earned. You've not done anything to earn the money that you've got. It's all about revenue these days. You mentioned about Usmanov with us. The real fuck up with that is that, yes, he was a silent partner. He was paying money into it. There were various brands that they threw on the side of the stadium at Goodison with his brand on it and stuff like that. When he does one and gets all the sanctions put against him, like half of Russia has, that's when Everton go into the shit, because a lot was relied upon what he's done. You guys, I mean, look, there's a constant, seems to be an FSG argument for various reasons and sort of what they're trying to do at the football club, why they own the football club. But you look at the way you guys have a system in terms of bringing players in. I mean, the lads that I've looked at since the start of the season look phenomenally good in the midfield and in everything which way you can look at that squad that you've got. There's a process that you go about getting it. And who was the guy that's just left? It was Michael Edwards, was it?
Yeah, Edwards has gone a while.
Julian Ward.
Yeah. So you go back to what Edwards was doing there. I remember people virtually around here nearly crying because that lad's leaving because of how well he'd done with recruitment. When have Everton had that? I can't think back to a time Everton have had that any sort of level and competence to be able to go and spend and act within your means. We haven't done that. We've decided, rather than to just say, do you know what, lads, this is shit, it's not working, we need to get a load of loans on. I.e. when we had Martinez back in that day, who actually did that. We had one week we had we paid $5 million for James McCarthy, Gareth Barry, and got Lukaku on loan. Bite your hand off for that at any point, and that's with Everton not spending any money. That's the ironic thing. When your team gets plenty of cash, they don't spend. You guys have done, your revenues come in from players you've sold. You've operated within the guidelines of it. How is that difficult to operate for any club when there's so many obvious examples around them, rather than thinking, do you know what, he looks good, I'll go and buy him? And that's your fucking owner that's saying it, because without doubt, Mashiri himself, like I said, that train set, that guy's made decisions above everybody else on what players he wants to come in. Right there and then, you've got your club that's from the grounds that's absolutely fucked up. Because who's Farhad Mashiri? He's an accountant by trade. Who's he to come in and say, I want to buy him, him.
He's not doing my fucking accounts, Dave. I can tell you that.
That's the other thing. He's even fucked that up.
I swear to God. But look, it's something that's going to roll on. My argument over it is if the biggest problem they would have would be a transfer ban. And what I mean by that is if they were told you can't sign anyone for 2 windows starting next summer, right? I get where you're coming from. Look, the shit at spending money. But if you're left with what's there, you're going to have the likes of Pickford, you're going to have Brandwaite, you're going to have Onana, you're going to have Calvert-Lewin going, we can't bring anyone in here. We're scraping at 34, 35 points, and we're only lucky because of 3 underneath are dreadful. I'm not staying for that. I'm fucking out of here. And then you end up with having to replace 3, 4 of your top earning perceived best players with basically under 23s players. And Everton do go down. I think Everton go down quicker off the back of a transfer ban than they would off a point deduction, simply the way things have worked out now. Dave, I'm gonna have to get you back on to have a proper discussion on this 777 and all this sort of stuff. And look, people are giving you some stick in the chat, and that's absolutely fine, but it's very good natured, and a lot of people have said, look, fair play to them for coming on. Dave is one of the soundest values you come across, and if you listen,
there's been a lot of questions actually in the chat for Dave, so you should get him back on. There's been loads.
I will get him back on. What I'll do is I'll just open about 6 cans and I'll just read out the fucking question, and Dave can just go off them, and I'll leave him there for 90 minutes, and then I'll come back and knock off the stream, and we'll all piss off. That's how it'll work the next time. But honestly, no, like the chat have been very good mannered about it, and you've been very honest in what you say. Look, I've really enjoyed it. I think most people have tonight. It's a chance to look at the PGMOL. Like I said, we could be back here in 6 months having the exact same conversation. I won't have the moustache. I'm just letting you know in 6 months' time. Keith will still be beautiful. Davo will still be in bed in half an hour because Davo's back.
Yeah.
What are you in bed? half an hour.
I'm up for work about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, nice one. And the next time Dave comes on, we won't have 40 minutes of us going, Dave, can you hear us, Dave?
Yeah.
That's purely my fault. I need to apologise for it.
I've worked out what was wrong. I was on air end, and I've worked it out. So if it happens again, I know what to do. So what day is today? Tuesday. We're back on Thursday with reaction to Toulouse. Away in the Europa League. We then back off Friday, off Saturday, because what would you be doing? And Sunday we will have reaction to Brentford at home, and we will also have our Sunday night show as well. The link is in the description if you want to donate to us for Movember. That's why the moustache and all is here. And I said it last night, I'm saying it again. I'm making lists of people that are fucking donating, right? I've had enough now. If I don't see us all on this list I've donated, don't ever come near me and ask me to happen for you fucking again. That's all I'm saying, right? I'm putting it down now, right? Put a £5 in, put £2 in, put £1, and I don't care what it is. Put it in there. The memberships are there on the channel as well. They're kicking off now, but you'll start to see the change in the shows over the next probably 10 days, where you're going to still get your free shows, you'll still get all your downloads. That's no problem. But there will be some shows if you want to watch them live, interactive and stuff like that. It'll be part of the members only stuff. So that's where we are with that. Keith, anything else before we go?
No. Good chat. Always good to dig into them bleeding PGMOL shits. Can I just read out the Richard Keys comment before we go off?
Yeah, you came
for anyone that hasn't heard. I came
Davo's
armed, and I don't usually come armed.
No.
His alarm's going on in 18 minutes.
No.
I just thought it was very apt that Richard Keys came out. I'm not a big fan of El Keysy, to be honest. He usually talks a lot of shit.
He's an arsehole.
He is. Yeah. But he came out with this: I'm in the luxurious position of being able to say what I think about the falling. Well, you probably had to do spell check on
he probably had a fucking Ferrero Rocher or something. He's a prick.
I'm reading his fucking direct quote.
Sorry, Keith.
I'm going to start again. I'm in the luxurious position of being able to say what I think about the falling standards of officiating in our league. But imagine taking a call from a high-ranking Premier League broadcast official reminding you who pays your wages. Scary. It happened to 2 people that I know recently. The message was clear: stop criticising the refs. What sort of world are we living in when people who run the game also want to steer the narrative? And I think that's very, very telling that he's coming out saying that. Like I said, I think he talks a lot of scutter most of the time, but he's coming out and saying that the powers that be are influencing. And you only have to listen to Gary Neville, to Jamie Carragher, and to Michael Owen, who does shows with Howard Webb. When contentious decisions are coming out, within a few minutes, they're all tweeting the same thing. And I think it's a dangerous, slippery slope. So I think that plays into the fact that we can't really do anything to change the PGMOL because they're too powerful now.
And they've too many people on their side, probably.
Yeah,
but then again, like Gary Neville's now doing 15-minute inserts on optical illusions, which is great. So if you're into optical illusions, tune in next week when Gary will show you that the goalpost looks a certain size from here, but when it's really far away, it looks smaller.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch it in a much better version, go and watch Father Ted, when Ted shows Dougal about the cows being really close and really far away. So there you go, and it's much better than Gary Neville, another arsehole. Anyway, Davo, anything else before we go?
No, all good. Enjoyed that tonight, and I probably won't be on when Dave was on with you, but with the Everton stuff. But I absolutely will listen because there was plenty of questions, so it'd be good to get his insight into it.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Let's sort something out very soon where me and you sit down. I drink cans, you answer you just take over this show and answer all the questions, and just give me a bell when you need me to knock her off.
It's something heavier than that, mate. If that was going to be the case.
Yeah. We might need then cans. You don't know what cans I drink, Dave. You know what I mean? Don't get ahead of yourself.
You're making yourself.
Carl's big special brew.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, just fucking topped up with whiskey. Right, Dave, off you go. Boom, we're away. But no, look, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure with you coming on. We are going to sort out something soon because I like talking about other football clubs, and Everton are one of those. But we'll definitely sort something soon. That's been Keith, that's been Davo, that's been Dave, I've been Gav. That has been your Tuesday night on the Talkin Kop. Talk to you soon. Over and out.